All right, let's dive into a really cool technique that's designed to shatter our biggest creative and strategic blocks. I mean, if you have ever felt stuck on a problem, and who hasn't, then this one is definitely for you. So, what's the big secret to breaking that cycle? Let's get into it. Okay, I want you to think about the last brainstorm you were in. Seriously, did it feel electric, buzzing with new ideas? Or did it feel kind of predictable, maybe even a little bit tired? Look, you are not alone. So many of these sessions feel like we're just going through the motions, not really getting anywhere new at all. But why does that happen? Hal Gregersen from the MIT Leadership Center just hits the nail on the head with this quote. What he's saying is, we've gotten so used to the idea of brainstorming that we're stuck in these old, tired patterns. It's become this routine thing we just check off the to-do list. We all know our roles, we know what to expect, and that predictability, it's the absolute enemy of any kind of breakthrough thinking. So, if the old way is broken, what's the fix? Well, here's the twist, the counterintuitive idea that's at the heart of all this. The path forward isn't about desperately digging for better answers. Turns out, it's all about learning how to ask way better questions. And that brings us to Gregersen's brilliant technique, the question burst. It's incredibly simple, but man, is it effective. You just get a small group together, and for 4 minutes, just 4, you do nothing but ask questions about one specific challenge. And here's the most important rule of all. Absolutely no answers are allowed. It's 100% about generating questions, not solutions. Okay, a 4-minute session with no answers? I know, it sounds a little strange, right? But to really get why this thing is so powerful, you have to see it in action. So let's break down exactly how it works. And we'll use a real-world example where the stakes were incredibly high. So let me introduce you to Ling Sheng. She's a director at Oracle, and she was handed this enormous task, helping to lead a massive transformation as the company shifted from selling software to cloud-based services. She knew she was going to face resistance, old habits, all of it. And she realized to change the company's thinking, she had to change her own thinking first. So, Ling gave the question burst a shot. The process itself is, on the surface, super simple. It starts with one person, in this case Ling, laying out her challenge. Then, for the next 4 minutes, 2 or 3 other people just pepper her with questions. But the real key, the game changer, is rule number 3. The presenter is not allowed to answer. Nope. They just have to listen and write down every single question, word for word. And let me tell you, that third rule, it's the hardest part. As Gregersen says right here, it is excruciatingly painful for most leaders. And why is that? Well, because leaders get paid to have the answers. It's like a reflex they can't turn off. So fighting that impulse to jump in and solve or explain or defend something, that's the most difficult and honestly the most important part of the whole thing. So what actually happens after 4 minutes of this, painful question storm? Well, the immediate result is just a list of questions. But the real magic, the big surprise, isn't the list itself. It's the huge effect this process has on your brain, your emotions, and your entire outlook on the problem. Gregersen found that people usually have one of 3 pretty powerful outcomes. First, you might suddenly feel this shift to a more positive, creative state of mind. Second, you could realize your problem is actually way bigger or totally different than you first thought. And third, and this is a big one, you might have that uncomfortable but totally necessary realization that you're part of the problem you're trying to solve. And this just illustrates the psychological impact perfectly. Gregersen actually measures what he calls the emotional temperature of people before and after. And what he finds is that people consistently go from feeling these really negative emotions like frustrated, overwhelmed, intimidated, to feeling hopeful, optimistic, and even empowered, just by shifting the focus from answers to questions. The whole emotional vibe of the problem changes. It's incredible. So what happened with Ling Xiang back at Oracle? Well, after her 4-minute session was over, she looked down at her notebook, totally filled with questions from her colleagues. And her reaction was instant. She realized that list of questions wasn't just a list. It was a plan. It was a whole new way forward. For her, it was a blueprint for her entire challenge. Ling's story really shows that this isn't just some interesting theory. It's a super practical tool for creating real-world breakthroughs. So what's the big takeaway for you? Let's boil this all down to a blueprint you can actually use, like today. Here's the secret sauce for why it works so well. When we are forced to stop defending our ideas and just listen to questions, we strip away what are called our anchors of expertise. Basically, we let go of our assumptions, we let go of our ego, and maybe, for the first time, we can actually see our own challenge through a completely new, unfiltered lens. So, I'll leave you with this thought. Think about the biggest, most annoying challenge you're facing right now. The one that keeps you up at night. What is the one crucial, maybe uncomfortable, or even totally disruptive question about that challenge that you are just not letting yourself ask? Maybe it's time for your own question burst.